So I hit a little bump in the road here with my throttle body. I am planning on switching this over to a cable-driven throttle body as opposed to the drive-by-wire electronic, throttle body that came on this thing. It allows me to run my original gas pedal, and I can get a cheaper computer without having to run that drive-by-wire. So I went ahead and got this adapter plate. This guy's supposed to adapt a Gen 3 Hemi size to an LS style throttle body. And it also bumps up the throttle body size to 92 millimeters. The original throttle body size was 80 millimeters, so it's actually quite a big jump up. Here, I'll give you an idea. So I picked up this guy here, little Phytech cable-driven LS style throttle body, 92 millimeter, and it's a lot bigger than the original guy here. This is an 80 millimeter, stock throttle body, to give you a size difference, which kind of worried me actually. At first I thought, bigger throttle body, better airflow, maybe it'll improve power, but from my understanding, it actually opens more airflow sooner, so it kind of shifts the way your gas pedal works, or I guess it shifts the way your acceleration works. And at first I thought, 10 more millimeters, so maybe that's something like 10 or 12%, but I did a little bit of math and circle diameter or whatever, you got to kind of account for that. Changing the diameter actually increases the airflow quicker than you think. So by my calculation, I think this guy's actually something like 33% bigger than this guy, which is a huge difference. And I think that maybe it might accelerate 33%, or maybe that's not the right way to say it. It will shift the acceleration down on the gas pedal, which might actually affect its sort of streetability. I don't know, I might be overthinking this, but I got a little worried, but I was going to roll with it anyway. But it turns out that this adapter does not fit the Hemi. I don't know why, but as you can see, it doesn't get straight on there. It kind of hits the bottom here. Of course, this adapter was only meant for the car style Hemi, or at least that's what I'm assuming, because that intake port here is on the front. So I think that there probably will be less clearance issues. I don't know, maybe not. It certainly doesn't fit on this truck style though, at least not for this year range. Another thing too is that this opening here is a lot bigger than the throttle body opening here. This is measured, let's take a look here. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. This guy I have at just over 83 millimeter. And this guy is bigger. That's at 89 millimeter, just over. So it's kind of strange because as far as I know, the 80 millimeter throttle body is used on a lot of these engines. I know they are used on the 6.1 SRT8 engine. So I don't know how well that would have sealed, even if I could have probably clearanced this a little bit, cut it down right to the edge. It probably would have fit on there, but then it would have maybe had a problem sealing here. So I just decided to switch over. There is one sort of conversion drive-by cable throttle body made by BBK. It was a little bit more expensive than getting this, LS style and getting this adapter, but it does reduce the size back down to, or I should say it matches the stock size to 80 millimeter. So kind of all my troubles of oversizing the throttle body go away, I'm back to stock. So that makes me kind of feel a little bit more comfortable. And the way I see it, if the 6.1 came with the 80 millimeter, and I think the 6.4 does too, then it should be good enough for my 5.7, even with a little bit of performance upgrades. I hope this BBK fits on here, but it seems promising. Oh, one more thing is that this guy has, I don't know, these alignment tabs on here. It's got one right here. It's got one right here. And this guy does not have provisions for those, no holes. I guess it would be up here and, to the side or whatever. This side, no holes are drilled on this guy. So I guess I would have had to drill them out of this plate or cut them off here, which, would have been fine, but it's just kind of strange. And the BBK throttle body does seem to have the provisions for these two guys. So it makes me a little more confident that that will work with this intake manifold. So here's the fuel line out of the car, and it looks to be original, so good, you know, 50 plus years old. It's definitely a good thing to replace while I'm here. And I think this original is 5/16 maybe, I'm not sure. But I do want to switch to a 3/8 fuel line. I want to try something new for this fuel line. I've never tried this before, but I picked up this 3/8 aluminum fuel hard line here, and I'm going to try and recreate this fuel line. I bought this little tube bender, and we'll see how it goes. Let's give it a try. Well, it's close. That actually was a lot harder than I thought it would be. But it came out okay. I guess I can kind of bend it into shape when I'm putting it in the car. So hopefully this will do it.
Caught you glancing over my way. No girl had looked at me like that before. Even though I knew your name, we had some time to catch up. I know that you know, I figured you out. Took me a while, but I got there somehow. Conversation, mixed emotions. I made my move without a doubt. I get the feeling that we're playing in the power lines. You're wide awake, way after midnight. Make this moment electrified. You're wide awake, way after midnight. Don't be shy and don't get hasty. Let's give into the time that we're wasting. Moments like these we'll remember. Though we doubt this will last forever. The taste of your lips, of your heart. I feel you breathing when I breathe. took it slow, now I'll take it faster. Don't feel the passion inside you now. Oh, I get the feeling that we're playing in the power lines. Wide awake, way up to midnight.
I'm using AN6 fittings to connect the fuel here to the fuel rail, and then in the back, and then connecting to the tank as well. And instead of flaring the two ends of the fuel line, you know, down by the tank and right here in the engine compartment, I'm instead trying out these fuel compression fittings. I don't have a flaring tool, and the times that I've tried using flaring tools, I've never really had good luck with them, so I'm gonna try this out. I don't know exactly how it works other than you just kind of slip this over the fuel line and then kind of, you know, I guess put this on first. Put the middle part on there, and then just kind of, you know, it compresses, makes some sort of seal somehow. I don't know. I hope it doesn't leak. We'll give it a shot. All right, it's test fit number 2. This time I'm going to be test fitting it with the transmission bolted to it. I think I'm going to try and install them as a pair. I hope I have enough cut out of the firewall and transmission tunnel. Maybe I'll need to cut a little bit more, not sure. I guess we'll see. I think we're pretty good. All right. All right, there they are, bolted up. It went together pretty good, no problems. I didn't put the flywheel or the clutch or pressure plate or anything like that yet because I'm gonna take these back apart. All right, let's get this thing lifted up. All right, the engine and transmission are in, and it's close. It's not too far off. So that transmission mount thing that I bolted to this is hitting a little bit on the original sort of cross member area here and on this side too. See if we can get a shot. Kind of dark. But you know, when I cut this thing out, I intentionally left these a little bit long, you know, just so that I would cut as little as possible on these guys. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and just hack off a little more, probably at an angle right about here, and you know, somewhere right about here. Not too big of a deal. The more I cut off on that, the harder it's going to be to recreate that cross member, but I'll figure it out. At first I wasn't sure if that new mount was going to work just because it started hitting that cross member, and you know, I don't want to sacrifice any of that cross member. I don't have to, but if you look, the transmission itself, here, the transmission itself is going to hit there anyway, so it doesn't really add, it adds maybe a ½ an inch of width there. So I certainly cut enough out of the floor, you know, too much actually, but I'll rebuild that. The actual firewall itself is looking okay. I might need to cut a little bit off here just to make room for this kind of square vent thing, but otherwise we're in pretty good shape. One thing that has me a little bit concerned is the shifter location here. Seems to be right in the middle of this cross member, and I really did want to rebuild that cross member over. So I'll have to think about how I'm going to deal with that. I think that they do make a shifter that kind of offsets it and parks the shifter somewhere around here, like the original 4-speed. I think it's an expensive shifter, but that might be an option. Or maybe, you know, I can rebuild this. Maybe I can rebuild this cross member somewhere else, like, you know, over in front of it, or I don't think behind it is going to be an option, because if anything, this shifter is a little bit back from the cross member. Here's a look at the engine. It's a little bit tilted backwards at the moment, so we do have a little bit more to go up on the back. Otherwise, clearances look pretty good. Firewall looks okay. There's the new steering box. I guess this will give us another opportunity to check out our header situation. I'm so excited. You know, that transmission really wasn't too bad. Let's see, I'll go take a look. I mean, I did, of course, cut the whole transmission tunnel out, but, you know, it's really not as big as I thought it would be. They really made it seem like this thing was just, you know, twice as big as the old transmission, but if you look at it, you know, it does fit in here pretty good. And of course I'll have to, you know, re-weld a tunnel up over this thing, but it's not going to be as hard as I thought it would be, I don't think. This mount did give me a little bit of trouble, this, you know, this truck mount that I got a hold of. Kind of just made the transmission wider, you know, right here where it kind of counts. So I think I ended up having to cut out just a little bit more of this center cross member, but I don't know. I have a few ideas for that. I was thinking I might try and do some sort of like crossbar over here to connect to my frame connectors. I mean, the reality is that it is just right there by the shifter. So, you know, it's going to be some sort of like front kind of swooping thing there. I had to peel back a little bit of the firewall there, but, you know, not by much. That's pretty much where that factory bend was. You know, a little bit of clearance for this sort of vent tube box thing here, but otherwise not really an issue. I'm just so happy to see this thing in there. That's awesome. I've been waiting for this day for a while. Definitely the next step is to figure out how I'm going to do a cross member here. both the up and over cross member and then the cross member that goes under this thing. To give you an idea where this transmission mount ended up, it's about, you know, this comes out about to right there. Here, let's get a better view. So it is set back. This is the center of where the old cross member was, and it's set back you know, a couple of inches here. But, you know, I think just a cross member that swoops out and back around like that. This will give you an idea as to how low this transmission hangs down. It's really not too bad. I mean, this is the frame rail here, and the exhaust is kind of hanging down at the moment, so that'll be tucked up a little bit, but it's definitely not lower than the frame rail. You know, it's up there pretty good. There's the bottom part. Yeah, it's definitely not the lowest part of the car. There was one area that got close, and I guess I lucked out here, but man, this intake manifold got really close to the firewall there, but you know, there's still a good bit of room there, so I think we're okay. But ooh, that was a lucky break there. This truck manifold just barely fits in this car. One thing that does have me a little bit nervous is this throttle body here. This is the BBK cable throttle body for the Hemi. If you remember, I had trouble with the, you know, the adapter plate and the LS style throttle body. You know, it wouldn't fit here, and this guy fits perfectly. You know, this was made for the Hemi intake manifold, so I'm really happy with the fitment. However, it seems to have this really tall sort of like hat on the top here, which is meant, I guess, to put in like the throttle position sensor or whatever. You know, it has this whole thing, and this guy here will get covered with a plate, so it's not going to get any taller than this, but it's already pretty tall. So to give you an idea of what I'm kind of worried about here, this does definitely stick up as it stands now pretty high above the level of where the hood sits, you know, so it's pretty much right here up. So we're looking at about 2 inches there, maybe a little bit less. Yeah, just under 2 inches. And when I first saw that, I was really worried, but you know, if you take a look at the hood, it actually bulges up quite a bit. I mean, if you see, you know, the hood isn't perfectly flat. Even the flat Challenger hood moves up quite a bit here. So if I were to put this somewhere in the middle, as you can see, let's see if I can get a focus on there. So I think that's about the location that throttle body should end up. And as you can see, I should have about, you know, it comes up to this lip right here, but I'll give you a rough idea. I mean, it looks like it's about 3 inches, maybe even 4, so I think that crisis is averted, just barely.